The air hung heavy with moisture. The clouds, dark and swollen, promised relief from the stifling heat. But for the people of Nepal, this monsoon season brought devastation. Landslides tore through villages, leaving scars on the landscape and in the hearts of its people. Homes were reduced to rubble. Fields lay buried under tons of earth. The air carried a chilling message. This was a disaster unlike any other. Across the country, the story was the same. From the Himalayas to the Tarai lowlands, the deluge spared no one. Rivers roared through towns and cities, leaving destruction in their wake. Yet amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. The resilience of the Nepali people shone through. Neighbors helped neighbors, sharing what little they had left. The scale of the disaster was overwhelming, the needs immense. The road to recovery would be long, but the spirit of Nepal would not be broken.
The immediate cause of the disaster was clear days of unrelenting rainfall. But this was no ordinary monsoon. Climate change had amplified the monsoon's fury. Warmer temperatures led to heavier and more frequent rainfall. The Himalayas, once a majestic bulwark, were now a source of danger. Melting glaciers formed unstable lakes, adding to the risk of flash floods. Decades of deforestation had left the hillsides bare and vulnerable. Unplanned construction further exacerbated the problem. Buildings on steep slopes became death traps when the earth gave way. The disaster underscored the urgent need for sustainable development practices.
The human toll of the disaster is difficult to comprehend. Thousands perished, buried under tons of mud and debris. The true cost extended far beyond the immediate casualties. Hundreds of thousands were displaced, their homes destroyed. The disaster disproportionately affected the most vulnerable. The trauma left deep scars on the collective psyche.
The immediate aftermath was marked by chaos and confusion. Rescue efforts were hampered by damaged roads and communication lines. Yet, amidst the despair, stories of courage and compassion emerged.
Section 4. Broken Backbones. Economic Realities in the Aftermath. The economic impact of the disaster was profound. The landslides and floods dealt a devastating blow to Nepal's fragile economy. Agriculture, the backbone of the country, suffered immensely. Fields were inundated, crops destroyed, livestock lost. The livelihoods of millions of farmers were shattered, pushing them further into poverty. The disaster also crippled vital infrastructure. Roads and bridges were washed away, cutting off access to remote communities and hindering relief efforts. The tourism sector, a crucial source of revenue for Nepal, was severely impacted. The iconic trekking routes were damaged, hotels and lodges destroyed, tourists stranded. The loss of revenue from tourism would have long-term consequences for the country's economy. The disaster underscored the vulnerability of developing countries like Nepal to the impacts of climate change. With limited resources and fragile economies, they are ill-equipped to cope with disasters of this magnitude. The road to recovery would be long and arduous, requiring sustained international support and investment.
Section 5, a global crisis expert, perspectives on climate change. This is not just a Nepal problem, warned Dr. Anjali Prakash, a leading climate scientist. This is a global crisis. The disaster in Nepal served as a stark reminder of the growing threat of climate change. Scientists have long warned that climate change will lead to more frequent and intense extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, and heat waves. Nepal, with its fragile mountain ecosystem and dependence on monsoon rains, is particularly vulnerable. The impact of climate change is no longer a distant threat, echoed Dr. Prakash. It is a present reality. The melting of glaciers, the increased frequency of landslides, the erratic monsoon patterns all pointed to a changing climate. The disaster in Nepal was a wake-up call for the world. The international community had a moral obligation to assist Nepal in its hour of need, but also to address the root causes of climate change. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, investing in renewable energy, and promoting sustainable development practices were no longer optional, but essential for the survival of the planet.
Section 6. Rebuilding Nepal. A call to action. The people of Nepal faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives and their nation. The road to recovery would be long and challenging, but not insurmountable. The resilience of the Nepali people, their determination in the face of adversity, gave hope for the future. The international community had a crucial role to play in supporting Nepal's recovery. Financial aid was urgently needed to provide immediate relief to those affected, rebuild damaged infrastructure, and support long-term development projects. But beyond financial assistance, Nepal needed technical expertise, technology transfer, and capacity building to strengthen its resilience to future disasters. This was not just a time for sympathy, but for action. Every contribution, no matter how small, could make a difference in the lives of those affected. By supporting Nepal, we were not just helping a nation in need, but investing in a more sustainable and resilient future for all.